Boston!
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein!
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Why, a 4-year-old child could understand this report. Run out and find me a 4-year-old child. I can't make head or tail out of it.
Or will I go?
Barabelli, you've got the brain of a 4-year-old boy, and I bet he was glad to get rid of it.
My fate is up to you.
Now, I'd be shitting my pants if I was you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Your List Sucks. Episode number, what episode number is it?
186.
Episode 186. Tonight we are doing
Happy anniversary.
Happy 186th anniversary. Your List Sucks. Tonight we're doing time capsule draft. What movies belong to the time capsule? We're going to find out tonight. We got a curated panel. I was beating them off with a stick. Everybody wanted to be here tonight. Had to turn you away. I'm sorry if you didn't make the cut, but I picked the 5 best people I think we had for this show. Koho pulling double duty tonight. How you feeling being on the panel tonight?
If you pick the 5 best people, am I an alternate? Because who's supposed to be here? Not me. But hey, I'm happy to help. I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm sure Cody will draft better than anyone because he actually gives a shit about draft logic. Boatman doesn't know what a draft is. Holtzman just thinks they're things that happen in movies. Aaron will be pretty good at this, I think. Aaron's won this at least once already in my heart. So I'm worried about Aaron and Cody and not my Team 19 brethren. Maybe I'll get third. We'll see.
All right, we got Aaron J. quickly becoming one of the most popular return panelists on Your List Sucks. Got him back tonight. Thank you for being here, Aaron. How you feel about this draft?
I feel beaten off. I just feel really tired. I could go to sleep right now, but instead I'm going to draft with 4 other fellas. We got all the same taste in movies, let's be honest. I don't know who I have more in common with movie-wise here. But, we're going to find out after this. I'm glad I'm drafting, first round in front of some of these people. Logic, draft, serpentine, other things. Glad to be here. Thanks for beating me off.
Absolutely, anytime. Next, we got Cody. Every time he thinks he's out, they pull him back in. Not hosting tonight, but he is on the panel. Cody, I know you love the draft. How you feel about this one?
I mean, we could have sold what happened before this call on Patreon. I literally want to kill somebody in a beanie, and just because he put something, I think he put the beanie on. No, I did zero prep for this. I'm going to let the draft play out where it plays and get the spots that I want. Some would say I have an advantage because I like similar movies to you, but I also dislike some movies that you love. So we'll see. And you do the same for me. So we'll see. I like that Koho and Aaron, they have different tastes than me, are definitely drafting before me. And it will be like behind me for Cam and Boatman to who does the inside joke first to relate to a movie that makes 3 people smile on this call. So other than that, I think I have the clear winner in this draft before we even started.
All right, we'll see what happens. Next, Cameron Holtzman coming in, last-minute lifesaver, rounding out the panel for me. How you feeling about this draft, Cam? I know you came in late, but how you like your chances?
Yeah, you messaged me whilst I was in the middle of dealing with a 9th grade student who was improvising lyrics to Gilbert and Sullivan musicals about how he could write better lyrics than they could and how rehearsing for musical theater is stupid. And I went, this is something that needs to make me feel like I have any sort of purpose or fulfillment in life, which is really sad if this is the thing that makes me feel that way. But then on my lunch break, I created my draft board. I probably looked at the idea of the time capsule episode a little different than some other people might have. But I'm very excited. I didn't care where I picked because I think I have a draft board of 25 movies where maybe 3 of them could possibly be on other people's lists. But I think I'm going to do well. If I don't pander to you, I don't really care. I'm not here to win. I'm here to make a list that I'm proud of.
All right. And finally, panelist number 5, Kaleb Boatman coming back this week for another draft. Famously not a big sports guy. We were talking the other night. You don't know too much about the NFL draft. What do you know about these drafts? It's movies. You know movies.
So I did the prep and I rewatched Draft Day, so I would understand just how drafts would work. Because I know that movie is famously accurate in terms of how the NFL draft works. So Koho, can I trade you for your first round pick my next 3 years of round 1 picks?
You can if you give me David goddamn Putney just because I feel like it.
No,
I will eat one pancake for someone's first round pick.
Can you please end this?
Draft day is to football what Rocky IV is to box. Okay. So,
I am the Cleveland Browns of humanity.
you're going to be that. Trust me.
He's not wrong.
Okay, guys. I just got back in my time machine. I'm reporting from the future. I got bad news. We didn't make it. Climate change.
That was coming.
Climate change, COVID variants, Avatar sequels. It was all too much. It's all falling apart. It's all going to hell. The good news is humanity is rising from the rubble and we're ready to rebuild. They found a time capsule. It has 5 movies in it. 5 movies from which they are going to revive the art of cinema. It is up to you which 5 of those movies are in that time capsule. That's the point of tonight's draft. Let's get started. We picked the draft order beforehand. Koho has the 1 pick. Aaron's at 2. Cody's at 3. Cam's at 4. And Boat is drafted number 5. So, Koho, you are on the clock. Oh, also, let me say the categories: 1 comedy, 1 action adventure, 1 romance / rom-com, 1 horror, and 1 wild card genre of their choice.
Great. I'm going to start 1-1 with romance, so I'm taking When Harry Met Sally. I think this is what most would consider the definitive rom-com. I love it. 1 watch, it's already in my top 100. It's one that I will go back to consistently. I love Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan in it. I think their romance at the central heart of it is really special. If we're going to rebuild the romance genre, that's the movie I pick to base the entire genre off going forward. I think that I love Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby specifically. They're great performers. Should have had all 4 performances nominated. I stand by that. All 4 are great. But yeah, I think if we're going to pick one movie to start romance films and rom-coms off and on again, what better one to pick than When Harry Met Sally? It's the only choice.
All right, yeah. This is probably the definitive romance. You're taking this as your rom-com, right? Not your
Yep, this is my romance rom-com.
Okay, all right. So, strong pick. I think this is the defining movie in the genre. If you are going to bring it back, it has a lot of the a lot of the tropes, not necessarily a negative way, but just a lot of things you expect out of that genre. And we are, I think I don't love the movie as much as everybody else does, but I definitely think it deserves to be preserved for this purpose. Everybody else, When Harry Met Sally going 1-1, did anybody else have that for their top pick, for their top rom-com? What's everybody's thoughts on When Harry Met Sally?
I think it makes sense for it to be your first romance rom-com. It wouldn't have been mine, but it was certainly on my list. This doesn't really make sense to me though as first overall. I feel like if you're going first overall, this is a weird pick to make. This feels like something. Man, I don't know. I feel like Koho honestly probably could have gotten this in the 2nd round. Maybe Cody would have snatched it up by then, but I don't know. I feel like Cody was really the only person major danger of taking it this early.
Yeah, I mean, odd choice. Putting in a time capsule after seeing it 1 time 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Watching it, and it's brilliant to make top 100. I think that's just bold because time capsule, you're dropping it off. Hopefully they rewatch it, and maybe it doesn't hold up on second viewing for people. I think it's a perfect rom-com. I don't know if it's the exact movie that I would put in a time capsule to do that. So, but interesting.
I will say I chose to define the way I'm building my time capsule differently than just here's the best, most iconic movie from each thing. Let's put that and shove that in there. So this was nowhere near my draft board because it doesn't fit the themes that I was going for in terms of what I was building off of. It's a respectable pick. I don't personally love the movie, but I understand why people do. But yeah, I wasn't going to take it.
Yeah, and I was not going to take it in the very first 3 rounds, so he just jumped on something that he could have gotten way later.
I like the movie a lot. I wasn't going to take it, but yeah, it's a good movie. Billy Crystal's a good mensch who, outkicked his coverage. I can relate greatly to that. So, it does happen, believe. Yeah, it's a fine pick. It wasn't on my list. I don't really know what my strategy was either, so I'm excited to see what Holtzman does because, I didn't have a strategy.
All right. Well, you are on the clock, Aaron. So, what is your number one overall pick?
So I guess when I was looking at my list, I have plenty of movies that, when I probably list them, aren't going to be chosen. So I chose the one I think has a chance, at least, of being chosen, and it's from the genre I'm most passionate about, or pretty passionate about, and that is horror. I really love horror a lot, and I love David Cronenberg a lot. So I want to make sure that he makes it along, and doesn't, fly by, this time capsule. The Fly is my choice. This movie is perfect. No notes at all for it. I get it is gross, but this is the horror category. We need something that is truly horrific. It is rewatchable as well because there are many layers. Gina Davis, also puts on a really great performance, not just Jeff Goldblum. A lot of times it's just kind of a one-person show. It's much more than that. And this would be my choice. Great horror, great remake, and almost my favorite Cronenberg. So,
if you're going to pick a Cronenberg, especially for something like this, is the one to pick because it's a lot more accessible. It's not as gross or as maybe esoteric as a lot of his movies, but it is something that you can watch and rewatch. I'd feel bad for anybody who's never seen a movie before and pops this in and watches Scanners or something like that, or Videodrome. They might not come back to it, but you might scare away. But this one I think is a good horror pick. I don't know. Again, I mean, with this panel, I don't think anybody was probably going to take this first, but it's a solid, iconic horror movie. Everybody else on The Fly. So anybody else think about The Fly for their horror pick?
I like one of the actually. It's not in my wheelhouse, but I do actually quite like The Fly. Wasn't really on my radar, but I think I like this pick.
It's one that I don't like the director by any means. He's a disgusting man, and also raises disgusting children, if I'm going to be honest with you, because they just also make fucking gross movies. But I can imagine their Thanksgiving when they cut the turkey and blood squirts out. But my take on it is it's one of the Cronenbergs that is gross, but also I respect it a lot more than the rest of his films. So if you're going to put one in there, and especially the body horror that he is so in love with, it's great to let those people drop off. I would just love to be a fly on the wall when they watch The Fly, because I would just, this is what they gave me. Interesting.
This is horrific. They will at least say that to the horror movie. So
that's true.
I will say I have seen a lot of Cronenberg's movies because I had to study him for trivia at one point. Director I should not like, but I actually think a lot of his movies are really good. When I was first coming up with my draft board, before I sort of figured out what I wanted to do with it, this was a movie that was very heavily in consideration. I think that The Fly is awesome. This movie's so good. Goldblum is fantastic in it. The effects, the story, the everything, I think is really well done. The way I ended up building my draft board, I actually have a different Cronenberg film on my draft board, and odds are now I'm probably not going to pick it because someone else already has a Cronenberg. But yeah.
I know what it is.
Joe, you got any thoughts on The Fly?
I have no thoughts on The Fly, Cotton. I was never going to take it.
All right. Cody, you're on the clock.
So there is one giant category that I'm the weakest in, and it's not even close. It's horror. I have no grasp on horror and don't claim to be an expert. The one I'm putting in, it's very cookie cutter. It's right to the line. I'm doing The Exorcist. I believe, and I want to also, like, as somebody that stood away from The Exorcist for so long, It's claimed to be my father's like the scariest movie he's ever seen. The little that we know about if you have never seen it, you think like the whole movie is that possessing like the thing. That's like 30 minutes of the film at the very end. Like the whole movie is this intrigue, like family drama that like unveils like over time, and it is honestly the one movie that I have thought about like numerous times after watching it and wanting to rewatch it, but wanting to put time away from it because it's such a complex film that they're able to achieve with this, and like everything thrown into it I think would like it's very like in your face, but if you're going to go with a horror movie that like tests like your your ability to handle, I think The Exorcist is a perfect way. Plus 70s, which is the best decade for most films, so I have to just throw that one in there.
No, this is a solid pick. I mean, this is one of the few horror movies that would I thought of right off the bat for topics, because it is scary. It's a horrifying movie, and you're right that the things you see. I remember when I watched it for the first time. I'm like, I've never seen a clip of this movie that didn't come from like the last 30 minutes. Like everything they show you, so that all the scary stuff you see, but there's a lot more to it. So not only is it a scary movie, but there's a lot of craft behind it. It's a very well made movie. So I think it's a good pick for the time capsule. Everybody else on The Exorcist?
Never seen it. Didn't consider it.
Yeah, this was definitely on my radar in terms of horror. It is. I think like it's cliche to call it one of the greatest horror movies of all time, but it's also correct. Like that's the thing is I said this about like Raiders before. It's like a chocolate chip cookie. Everybody loves chocolate chip cookies, and yeah, they're the basic answer, but that doesn't mean they're not correct.
Yeah, no, this is like completing like that T-shirt from Redbubble with the VHS tapes. We've got The Fly, now we've got The Exorcist. We're doing really great on the basic but correct picks here. So.
Yeah, I mean, Exorcist is Exorcist. Sure.
All right, Holzman, let's see how the strategy plays out. You're on the clock.
Yeah, so when I got the pitch from Kirk, I initially thought of just like, yeah, grab the best of the best, put them in there, run away. But I decided to focus more on finding movies that are great, but that are movies that even now today are underseen or even already starting to be forgotten, and preserve those movies that people will not talk about now that would not be talked about in 100 years, and keeping around these underseen and underrated and hidden gems that people frankly don't give enough credit to now, even in 100 years from now wouldn't. I'm actually going to start with my wild card pick. And I'm not trying to pander, but I'm picking a crime movie. But my wild card pick, my first round draft pick, I'm taking American Animals. American Animals, I just recently rewatched this, and I think this is a great, really interesting way to show not just what you can do with a crime film, but what you can do with a documentary, how you can blend these tones, these genres, these styles into this very, very gripping story. I think it's a fantastic way to talk about the idea of who is your main character, having characters who are explicitly not rootable, having these people who are unreliable narrators, and seeing how stories can change. And I think it's a really, really underrated movie, as much as a lot of people in this community will talk. The general public, a lot of people haven't seen it or don't talk about it at all, and I think that's a shame. I think this is a just fantastically well done crime film, a really interesting take on how to do a documentary where it's sort of half documentary, half narrative, and I think it's a movie that I absolutely think deserves to stand the test of time.
Okay, based on your strategy, really great pick. I love this movie. I think it is one that you said is very underseen, is very underrated. And like I said with The Exorcist, it's a great just exercise in filmmaking. I just love the way, like you said, how they play with point of view, the way they mix, play with memory, the way things are seen, just how they intercut. There's a couple scenes in this movie where they actually intercut like two people's different memories of the way something happened. So it's happening both ways. They remember them at the exact same time. I thought that's so original. It does a lot of things like that. So yeah, going with different strategy, a different way, I think, than everybody else is. We'll see how it plays out for you overall. But based on that, I think this is a good start. Everybody else can react.
I mean, Koho had big eye rolls the entire time, so I'm curious to see.
I'm trying to like make sure this dog stops barking before I start talking. But I guess the way I viewed it is we're using these films to rebuild cinema. Like these are the things that we're going to use as the cornerstones for the genres when they come back and we start making.
And if
movies
this
again.
is where we're starting,
and if this is
great, goddamn.
No, you just ruined crime movies forever. Because if all of these are these half documentary, half drama styles, I will never watch another crime film again. I think crime's been ruined forever if this is what all crime films are now being designed like. So I think basing that view of it, you just shot an entire great genre in the face by picking.
It's almost like I explained my thought process and you.
I think your thought process is stupid, but that's fine.
Well, I think you're stupid.
FANZONE.
This was on my top 100 when I did the show. It was the very bottom. I think it was like 99 or 100. I love the style. I absolutely love the style of how they do this movie. I know it definitely takes a few people. People don't like it as much. I thought it was brilliant, especially as like a true crime person of like watching the documentaries that I've seen so many times to see it tied into movies. Like I thought it was great. I'm a little concerned with the time capsule thing of like, this is the one that pops out because I think it can jar some people like, wow, that just is, what is this? But it's definitely a great film. Like I absolutely love it. And I think it's definitely underseen. So if that's the style you're going for, I think it's smart.
I think it is a great film. The one kind of question mark I have though, is that this is a society where all of cinema has been lost. We don't know what like documentaries are either then. Like, so how like effective is this actually?
I would like to state for the record that Kirk's entire thing and spiel at the beginning of this was not given to us when told to prepare for the show. So I was allowed to.
It sounds like adapt or die, like the situation we're living in.
I was told by Kirk, and I quote, I will pull it up, simply, movies from any era, you're guaranteeing these will be saved for future generations. Nothing about film as we know it has been erased.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm under the impression that documentaries that you know.
Understood the assignment I was given. Stop trying to change it.
I know I gave the spiel at the beginning. That was more just as to be silly. I will give leeway as to your interpretation of what the time capsule will be. So build it how you see fit.
Yeah, I saw this back with MoviePass. Good times. I think it was produced by MoviePass too. This is probably like my top 10 MoviePass movies ever. I remember, So good times there. I don't know. I haven't thought about it since I watched it. I've heard people bring it up a lot since then. So maybe it's time for a rewatch after the apocalyptic event that I make it through, that we all do.
Aaron, sponsored by MoviePass.
God, please.
Can we get a MoviePass counter at the bottom of the screen?
God,
Boatman, finish your round out for us.
I'm gonna make my wild card pick to start off with. But before I make the pick, I have to give some qualifier here because I know people are gonna say something when I make this pick. Kirk has put himself in a really great position where one of the movies that he is most associated with is essentially like being associated with Oxygen or like something everyone loves. Dogs. Like, it's like, so if you say, oh, I love dogs, I love Oxygen. Oh, you're pandering to Kirk. My pick is The Godfather.
Ice Age starring Ray Romano.
It's not pandering. It's not pandering.
Yes, it is.
That's textbook pandering.
It 100%.
Ray Romano movie and move on.
Why don't you pick a movie that we haven't talked about at all? Good Lord. Let's talk about The Godfather. Go ahead. Keep going.
You haven't talked about The Exorcist. Shut up.
Watch it.
He hasn't.
No.
What?
You have
Aaron and I are
one
going to
or
win by being respectful and quiet.
Go ahead, Godfather boy. Tell us how much you love The Godfather. Go ahead.
I do love The Godfather. It's on my top 20. I literally have a poster of it right there. And I think that it's just saying that this is one of the greatest movies of all time is like one of the obvious things. It's like what I was talking about with The Exorcist. It's like this is one of the masterpieces of cinema. This is maybe one of, I would say, the second greatest ensemble cast of all time. Brilliant film. And Cody's making fun of me because he's mad that I took this.
Listen, I don't own The Godfather. It's not my movie. I can't claim it for myself. And Boatman's right. It's one, probably my favorite movie, my second favorite movie ever. But it is also happens to be one of the greatest movies ever made. Considered that by everybody, not just me. And if I say to you, "Hey, you have to save music for the future," you're probably going to save the Beatles. I mean, that's not a sexy pick, but you're probably most people are going to save the Beatles.
Called Yesterday,
but so no, I'm not going to hold that against you.
We don't tip picks.
You're not going to. I mean, I'm not going to call this pandering. We go down a little further down my top 10, top 20. Somebody throws out like Run Fat Boy Run or something. You might be getting. I might call that pandering.
Not gonna lie, I did legitimately consider that movie. I'm not gonna pick it, but I did legitimately consider it at one point.
So good. But no, yeah. Again, I'm not going to talk about because I've talked about it a million times, and it's so great. Everybody else, obviously, it has the reputation it has. Was anybody going to pick or try to sneak in The Godfather as one of their picks?
I think it's a dumb. I think it's a dumb choice. I think it's a dumb if you pick anything within a franchise, basically, or it has a sequel. I want to see where Michael goes after the story. I'm pissed off at the end of it. I don't get to see Godfather 2. Like, that's not you don't get to put the bundle pack together and throw it out there. You get the Godfather. I think it's a great standalone movie if you watch it standalone. And they don't know that the other one exists, but also I'm stuck in that world that knows that I want Michael to continue. And what the fuck, they missed out because you couldn't put it in the box. So I think it's a good movie. I think it overall is, but I think it's a clear cut. If you said time capsule movies, The Godfather. I wasn't picking The Godfather because I've talked about The Godfather ad nauseum. But yeah.
I would have picked The Godfather Part 2 before I picked The Godfather. That's just me. I think 2's better than 1.
Oh, well, that's a trash take, but whatever.
That's why I didn't pick any, because I'm not putting a sequel in here if I can't put the original in if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Everyone remember this when Koho inevitably picks a franchise film.
That's what you think.
I think it's a perfectly good pick. So far, everybody's doing really good. I think it's anybody's race except for Holtzman's right now.
Exactly.
But
I can't wait to see the next.
He can turn it around. I just have to see the rest. If I was like right now with the 4 other movies chosen, I'm like, yes, American Animal is also. We have to see how it turns out.
I chose to interpret.
With his speech and holding his hands up next to his poster, he better draft everything that's next to his wall. If he doesn't, he's a fraud. I'm just saying. He better have them all.
It's comedy.
He better have them all.
I was going to say it's pandering.
I am the Godfather. Well, Steve Jobs better get his ass out here too because he needs to be on this. Let's go. Let's teach him those 3 events of it.
All right. After round number 1, we have 2 horror, 2 wild cards, and a romance off the board. Boatman, start us off with round number 2 with your second pick.
For my second pick, and just to be clear, romance is like romance/romantic comedy, right? Yes. So romance is eligible. It's not just rom-com. All right. So I'm going with, this is on the border anyway, but I'm going with The Apartment. This is, I think, if we're rebuilding society and cinema, we got to remember how to be human beings. And this is Cody's just gonna mock me the whole night. I didn't have to be here. I could be watching Affliction.
Why are you not okay with the show? I don't know what show you've ever watched, but this is the show.
If I spent like the entirety of a show that you were hosting on YLS,
teach us how men took advantage of women and slept with them unconventionally to teach men how to be men.
You would tell me to shut up.
Hey,
How's it going, Aaron?
teach the future men how to just sleep with women that they don't care about and ruin their self-esteem
Jack
and make them want to kill
Lemmon
themselves
doesn't do that.
in the future. Go ahead and show us.
That's then you miss completely the point of the apartment, and you're purposely just like talking trash about
There's
it.
one mensch, the rest are whore, you're sluts. So
Yeah.
deal with it.
And you're supposed to be like the good guy. You don't get to criticize. That's like saying, "Oh, I don't like that Lion King because Scar's a bad role model."
Oh, we're not supposed to tip picks, sir. We're not supposed to tip picks. Please keep it in the line.
I will tip whatever the heck I want.
Oh, is that your reason why you picked
Always
the
tip
apartment?
18% or
Okay.
I enjoy the apartment. Go ahead, Kirk.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick because you get a good romance, but you also get Jack Lemmon, who's one of our all-time great actors. So I'm glad the future is going to get to see him. Koho's back. Anybody else thinking? Well, Koho, your romance is already picked. Probably could have slid this into a comedy as well. But was anybody considering The Apartment?
No.
I guess.
I don't think so. Overall, I like it a lot. I enjoy it. I'm just worried about the people in the future not learning how to wash their sheets like after the affair because that's never shown in the film, and that's a huge gripe that Jack Lemmon just lays in bed of filth. It's disgusting.
I also just want to point out that Boatman said he will tip whatever he wants. And I think that means he took the wrong message from The Apartment, which is what's going to happen when he gets put in the time capsule to people in the future. I'm just saying, Boatman is the example that proves the rule that The Apartment's a bad pick.
Yeah, I like The Apartment.
Okay, let's stop pretending that The Apartment isn't like a good movie. Let Boatman be boring and white and move on.
I will always
It's my brand.
Aaron, your thoughts on The Apartment?
I don't really look at it as much as a romance, but I do love it. I do love the elements of it that Boatman's pointing out. I just wouldn't pick it as my romance. That's all.
All right. Holtzman, pick number 2.
He's got The Godfather in The Apartment. If you don't expect me to poke holes in this argument, I have to do it somewhere. He picked 2 of the greatest films of all time. I have to say some shit.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna draft my comedy now. Because frankly, the order in which I draft my movies doesn't really matter because no one's gonna have any of them. Although this one maybe actually might be considered by like a Boat or an Aaron. For my comedy, I'm continuing on my idea of movies that already are starting to be or will probably be forgotten in the long run. And I'm picking 1942's To Be or Not to Be.
Oh.
This is a movie that I actually watched because Boatman got me to watch it. I think this movie is fantastic. It tells the story of a theater troupe during the middle of the Second World War and basically their attempts to sort of keep going and how things kind of go wrong and the comedy that comes out of all of this stuff. I think it's a really, really great story about just like surviving under these most terrible of circumstances, but still being able to have this perseverance. It has this very human emotion, but also some really, really great moments of humor. It's got a lot of really, really fun, really, really funny scenes. Fantastic performances, a great screenplay. Ernst Lubitsch does a really, really good job directing it. I think it's just a great movie that more people need to see that is kind of being lost again. And the more we can keep it around for people to see, the better.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to have a Lubitsch comedy in the capsule and something from this era. This is a really solid movie. I really enjoy it. I think it's good. I think it is funny. It's for the time, especially the type of humor.
Because they made this in the middle of World War II.
That was ballsy. And it's great satire. It's great humor. A lot of great performances. So yeah, I think it's really solid pick. Anybody else have this on their radar for their comedy? First comedy off the board.
I've not seen it yet.
No, but I have seen it and didn't even cross my mind, but I really do like this as a pick. Really, really solid. And yeah, no, good choice.
I was between this and a movie that I know Aaron would have been very, very happy for me to pick, but it would have felt like I was just trying to steal things from other people.
Yeah, love this movie. Great pick.
Ernest Lubitsch.
Oh, and Boatman, Mel Brooks does not rap in the remake. I don't know who told you.
Why did I think that happened? I
don't
have
know.
a clear image in my head of in the remake of the movie, Mel Brooks in like a Nazi suit rapping. And I don't know
You're
where I
thinking of
got
2005's The Producer.
I was going to say, you thinking of producers?
No. I know not.
Space.
I don't know why I think that's the thing then.
I believe this is a Boatman fever dream, everyone. That Boatman.
This is honestly
many
probably
times.
just a Boatman fever dream.
Fair enough.
Further reason why we should not be putting the apartment in a time capsule. He's learning the wrong reasons from it.
Shut up.
Cody.
You see, I'll tell you,
What'd you
Dad,
second
said
pick?
shut up. Therefore, learning long lessons.
So again, like I said, I did zero prep for this, so I am just winging it. I'm going to go action adventure next. I'm guessing it can be considered action / adventure, right? Either way, just to say. I think if I'm going to put a movie in there for action adventure, I'm going to put RoboCop.
Fuck.
I think RoboCop is absolutely batshit crazy. Also great performances, just brutal action across the board. I also kind of help the future generation if they're not there yet, that hey, maybe if you think like one day these robots can help you do stuff, maybe put them in the pause and be like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. We all remember when Cody sent us RoboCop and it started killing people, then you don't. So RoboCop, love it. Think it's brilliant. And hell, I'm really glad. Exorcist, RoboCop, I'm having a fun double feature already with that group. So, yeah.
No, great movie. We were talking about this a little bit on Lauded last night. Great movie. Not only great action movie, also a lot of great comedy, a lot of great satire. Really fun movie, fun action movie. So I would not mind having the people in the future watch this. Aaron, you had a reaction. Was this on your draft?
This is going to be my next pick.
Oh,
really?
Yes. And I won't. Yeah, I maybe shouldn't say that, but it is the truth.
No, that's crazy. I thought this was going to go under the radar and no one would pick
I almost
it,
picked it first, but I wanted to stay true to my boy Cronenberg, Robert Cronenberg.
Yeah,
And,
you probably could have gotten Fly in a later round, man.
I know, but I wanted
You
to
could have gotten Fly in the 5th round, my
I
dude.
know.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
The
like,
person who gets to say that is not Boatman. He doesn't know how to draft.
That's why. I mean, either way.
I think I'm doing pretty well so far right now. So shut up.
Yeah, RoboCop is like one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm from Detroit. This is a proud representation of a Detroit of days of yours. But either way, you're missing out on the sequel by picking RoboCop. So we're gonna go to the sequel argument here because that sequel is super underrated, like to a huge degree. I won't say another underrated sequel in case it's chosen, but yeah, RoboCop 2 is awesome. So if you haven't watched RoboCop 2, go ahead and watch that because that just takes everything.
Aaron, RoboCop 2 can still be drafted. So.
Maybe I'm tipping off my pick because I am next.
I will say, I think in a world in which you don't have some of the context for this movie, I'm not sure how it works in terms of the satire. I'm not sure how well it works, but it's still a great action movie, even if you remove the satire. So I'm not going to harp on that point too much.
Yeah, in the new society that doesn't have misogyny either. I don't know if the apartment plays super well either, but I think people will figure it out.
And hey, this is the future. Maybe they do in fact have robot cops. Movie is
You should
fine.
call it by its full Christian name of Robot Cop. Or Robot Police Officer.
I would say Robot Cop has to be like the Asylum movie by now, right?
There's got to be a RoboCop out there.
Robot Cop.
Code, you talking about this?
Robert Cop is his real name.
No, I don't really have any thoughts to add to RoboCop. I can't really knock the pick. So.
Have you seen RoboCop?
It's more sci-fi than action adventure. I'm
Nice.
really
Nice.
like.
Yeah.
I don't think you've seen RoboCop. You have not seen RoboCop.
In the year 2014, the Asylum released the film Android Cop.
In 2014, RoboCop was released with Michael Keaton, and that I'm assuming is the version you have chosen.
That is the only one Koho has seen, by the way.
Oh, no.
That's beautiful.
For the record, Android Cop was played by Michael Jai White.
Oh,
That checks out. That checks out.
Aaron, you were on the clock.
All right. Let's see. So we have horror off the list. RoboCop is gone. So I'm gonna wait on action for a little bit here. I'm gonna try to keep, with the two kind of juggernauts so far. I'm gonna go with, my given answer for romance. It's the quintessential romance movie. Do I have to even say it at this point? If I do, Roman Holiday, it's my choice. Like it is the romance movie. Like sometimes the right answer is the right answer. Gregory Peck, Audrey Hepburn. We've all seen it. It's beautiful. Hopefully, they don't get into the discussion of the, I don't know, whatever, the problematic elements of this movie from 60 years ago that I don't really care about because I can watch a movie that was made long ago that doesn't hold up to today's lens. So Roman Holiday, it's the romance movie of romance movies. I am sorry, Jean-Luc Godard. I cannot choose you here.
All right, yeah, great pick because this gets us a whiler in the time capsule, which is always good to have. We got Audrey Hepburn, we got Gregory Peck, some really good movie stars. So this is I think this is an iconic representation of the genre. So everybody else, I know some of you guys are classic movie fans. Was anybody else thinking about Roman Holiday?
I do really like Roman Holiday, but I don't have the feeling for it that a lot of people do, where they love it. But I do think it's really solid. I think outside of To Kill a Mockingbird and maybe one or two other things, I'm not really a Gregory Peck guy. And I'm also not really a William Wyler guy. There's a few exceptions to the rule, but I'm not. I find that a lot of the ones that people really love from him are the ones that are not the ones I gravitate back to, and it's more like his smaller stuff like The Collector that I'm like, this rules. But still, very good pick. Makes sense. This is one of the GOAT classic rom-coms.
I watched this movie for the first time last month. And the circumstances under which I watched it meant that I could not enjoy it as much as I wanted to, because I watched it to prepare for a debate against one Andrew Barr in FANZONE, which is now available on this channel. Go watch it. But the entire thing was I watched it because I had to prepare arguments to knock down this movie from a pedestal it was being put on. And so the entire time I'm watching, I'm just searching for every possible flaw and negative thing I can find about the movie. And I still liked it while looking at it through that lens. I definitely need to rewatch it and give it now a more fair chance. I enjoyed it. Didn't think about it because, again, my draft board's weird.
Yeah, that is something I hate about debate, is being forced to hate watch great movies. And it's hard to shake that when you're done. Cody, and I think Cody's the only one who has talked about it. Cody, Roman Holiday, you thinking about it?
Yeah. So I think rom-com's my biggest category of things that I'm okay with grabbing at certain levels because I like a lot. That's a realm that I think is one of my favorite genres. But I'm with when I first watched it in March of 2020, I was like, it's 5 stars because it's Roman Holiday. It's it gets that because it's Roman. I'm even if and it was a weird way I felt. I watched it exactly 2 years later. I love the movie. The overall movie, this would have been a high choice on my list because I think that last scene especially, which if you want to be a successful rom-com, that last scene or whatever has to hit for me. Basically, that press room is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'm with Boat. I'm not a huge Gregory Peck fan. I think he's good in things, but I don't love him as an actor, and I don't love Hepburn either. I think she's a tad overrated on some of the stuff that she gets. But put both of the two that I don't love, it just works brilliantly. So I think it's a brilliant movie. Two people that are not supposed to technically meet together. It's one of the best tropes, but it works so well in this movie.
All right, Koho, you are on the clock for the next 2 picks.
Great. So I'm still debating a category, so I'll put a pin in that one because I got time. I'm gonna go ahead and start with comedy. Yeah, I'll start a comedy. And I'm gonna go ahead and again, my viewpoint to build these was to pick the movie that would be used as the template for the genre going forward. And so the comedy stylings that I like are the fast talkers, the like mile a minute jokes. That's the kind of stuff I like. And I think one of the best comedies to do that would be great to build off of is Arsenic and Old Lace. So I think that Capra's style of that madcap, fast talking, you have the exaggerated, over the top Cary Grant performance that I love. You also have like the situational sort of stylings of like like these two old ladies in a position where these are unassuming people. It basically teaches you everything you need to know about comedy films in one movie and how to then build that genre out again from that one film. So that's my choice for comedy is Arsenic and Old Lace.
No, it's great. You got Capra in your time capsule, which is pretty good to have. And yeah, this is a great movie. Another one that feels very, has a little more of a modern edge to it. Just great, just based on a play, and you can tell it's based on a play in a good way. Where it has that kind of pacing to it, where you just have that constant, nonstop energy. So I think this is a great pick for comedy. I know some of you guys are big fans of this movie. Did anybody else have this on their wheelhouse for the comedy pick?
I did not, but I do actually think this is a really good pick. Like this is, I don't know if I necessarily, I almost feel like it would fit more for my style of drafting than Koho's because I don't know if this is like the foundation of rebuilding. But I guess in a world, I'm just thinking it out. You gave me so much crap for The Godfather and The Apartment.
You literally can't take facial expressions to save your life. You are like, you believe that. Just tell him to fuck himself and just say what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we want to talk about people who can't take facial expressions to save their lives? Is that
in a world where we have no more arsenic or lace, this movie makes no sense.
I think it's a great movie.
I haven't seen it.
I feel like Koho just went to
Aaron
my top
put that
100.
high on your watch list.
Oh, it's up there. I've passed it on criteria.
You will love it. So yeah, like knowing you
can't wait.
It's like Koho went to my top 100 and said, "Yep, I'll take these," which is crazy. Like, so again, I enjoy them, but like, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's fine. I feel like I show this movie to some people and they really like it, but then I feel like, again, comedy is probably the hardest category to draft because comedy is so subjective of what you find funny and what you don't. So, like, I think this one could, like, be funny or it could be just flat and just stare at it and be like, I don't get it at all. So, interesting.
All right, that ends round 2, and Cody, Koho, you're going to kick off round 3 number here with your third pick.
So I'm going to take my horror one now, just because I'm still debating on another genre. And again, this is me picking a genre that I don't like. I don't like horror. I'm not a horror guy. I've never been a horror guy. So when I can find a horror movie that really speaks to me with the sort of sensibility that I like, it's going to be what I hope they build horror on going forward out of the society, that they take this and this is what they take the ball with and run with on horror, which is things that happen out in the middle of nowhere and are a little creepy. And that's the vibe I like most in horror. I also like when things are really weird, but not in a like I can't take this sort of way, but in a like this is an odd, interesting way to view this sort of way. So I'm taking An American Werewolf in London. I think that would be a great one to build horror off of. You have great practical creature effects from Rick Baker that I love. You also have like a really great premise and a great setup in the idea that they're out in the middle of nowhere. This thing kills his friend, bites him, and no one believes him, and he's seeing things that no one else can see. And it's sort of a commentary on friendship and insanity and a lot of different ideas in one. I think John Landis directs this phenomenally. I also like that it's a little bit funny. It's like you can laugh along uneasily with the movie. So if society is burned to the ground and they have to bring back horror, I hope they base it all off on American Werewolf in London.
This isn't a movie. I like this movie. I don't love it, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and I hear a lot of filmmakers when they address horror movies put this consistently very high. top 3, top 5 all time. So there's definitely something here. I think Landis does do a good job. It does kind of walk that tightrope of being like real serious horror and kind of like horror comedy elements in it, which I think is a nice blend. I think my favorite part of it is his friend who's haunting him and just kind of trying to get him to kill himself, which is just a really weird twist on an already kind of weird premise. So, but no, it's a out of left field pick, but it's not a bad one. I know a couple of you already have your horror pick in, but did anybody consider American Werewolf in London?
No, but this is a great movie. Great pick. I'm the reason Koho watched this, even though he waited.
I had this DVD show up at my house one day. It was weird. I don't know how. It was kind of weird.
I literally like gave him this DVD, and then he waited a full year to actually watch it.
I watched this for the first time last month. I think it's good. I didn't love it. There is a weird amount of time in this movie dedicated to a werewolf watching adult films. It was a really weird thing to notice. I think it's good, but if we're gonna get on everyone's pithy, petty arguments about this glorifies this thing, this glorifies this thing, isn't one of the characters literally just a ghost who promotes the other character trying to kill himself?
Yes.
Aha! Moral victory, or whatever the hell you guys are trying to do here.
Aaron and Cody, you both have your horror picks in, but was this one you thought about?
Oh no, not even close. Like, I honestly, Koho's like time capsule right now is very weird. Like Arsenic and Lace, American Werewolf in London, and When Harry Met
London
Sally.
doesn't even exist anymore in Koho's world.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. Like, I think America. I just watched it this week for the first time ever, and I think it's interesting because I think like technically, like how they're able to build it looks really interesting. It's Iowa internet. He'll be back. But I think he was frozen for a second. No, it's just I think it's interesting. I think like how they design like the dead character and like how he keeps popping up. Like that's really interesting of how they do it. But in the town, because there's another movie that if we don't talk about it, we can talk about it in honorable mentions. But like there was one that like when a town doesn't get like you're trying to be the sane one in the room and say everything, and everybody's like, no, it doesn't resonate with me. Like those are great ties into horror. So I think that's an interesting, but I don't know if I would have taken it.
Yeah, I'd consider it better comedy than horror for me personally, but yeah.
All right. Yeah. Aaron, you are on the clock for your third pick.
All right. Pick number 3. At this point, I feel like I'm kind of, at the point where I don't think any of my picks really it's going to matter too much. But action did get cut down a little bit after one Paul Verhoeven classic. I'm going to go with another Paul Verhoeven classic. I'm going with Starship Troopers. I think this is going to be a very important lesson for our future generation to learn about the horrible tyranny of, the oppressive post 9/11 world that we got thrown into, that this movie looks into and kind of warns us all about. And just it's a fun watch. You can watch it on a lot of different levels. I think I've made that argument with a couple of my movies. You can watch it and not look into any of the kind of further messages about it. It's just a silly kind of B movie type of movie. You can look further into it. Paul Verhoeven's a master. RoboCop would have been my pick, but it was a close like second or third. And I had another movie, but it was a sequel, so I didn't really want to, deal with that. And so I'm going with the one and only Starship Troopers.
Okay, I understand what you're going for here, and I see your why, but I think that hold on one second. Sorry about that. I think it's definitely worth putting on, but my fear is that when those future generations are watching this, they're not going to get the satire. I think somebody mentioned about RoboCop, but I think this one's even worse because this one's played so much straighter that I think even original audiences had that issue with this. And it wasn't until it was revisited later people really started to figure it out. So that's my only concern about this. Everybody else on Starship Troopers.
My family loved this movie. I hated this movie. I don't like this movie at all. It does not. It's not interesting to me. Yeah, I would not. I would be very upset if this was one of the movies in the time capsule for me. Like, I wouldn't be pleased.
What was the pick? Sorry.
Starship Troopers.
And is this an action adventure? I assume.
Nah, it's in romance.
I haven't seen it.
I once downloaded this movie onto my phone to watch while I was at work, and then I didn't. And then I just didn't watch it. Never watched it since.
Good anecdote. Thank you.
That was like 3 years ago.
Don't watch it on your phone when you watch it. Like, it's not like great, but don't watch it on your phone.
Is Koho here?
He said he's had to step away for a minute, but he'll be back. So
okay, all right. So Cody, you were on the clock.
Okay. So 2 people left of me took wild cards, so I do not have to worry about that right now. So I can wait. So I'm going to take comedy, and I think. Let me just look one thing, because I don't want to make a mistake, but I think this is the this is the correct one that I'm going to do. Comedy. I'm going to take the king of comedy. I'm going to take
Joker.
I'm gonna put Martin Scorsese. I'm going to put Robert De Niro in the Capsule. I think it is hilarious, honestly, when you watch it. It's also got some good drama elements to it, which works really well. Because if the comedy is not fully hitting with you in the movie, and you don't go, I think the drama still does. So that makes it work pretty well. So yeah, King Comedy is my clear cut, and you get Scorsese in the time capsule. So
yeah, I was wondering when I picked this as a genre, I was wondering if someone would take this because Boatman's frozen a very surprised look there.
That's when you get choked for the first time.
But no, I was wondering if someone would take this because it's a little bit of a cheat, not in a bad way. I definitely hold it against you. But I mean, you get so much more. You get drama, you get crime, you get a lot of things in with your comedy here. So I think it's a great pick. I think it's a smart pick. Like you said, you get Scorsese, you get De Niro, you get a little bit of Jerry Lewis, who represents a lot of older stuff. So I think it's a very solid pick. Anybody else consider this one for their comedy pick or?
No, I considered it for my wild card because it's not a comedy. This is erroneous. This pick right here. There's not a no. Like
it's listed under comedy.
I don't agree with this pick. This is less of a comedy than American Werewolf is a horror. So this is shenanigans. I just feel like
don't hate the player, hate the game.
I hate this game. I hate this. I don't know why.
He's being very clear about the fact that it's the game.
This game is terrible.
He picked the category. I just fell in with it.
Not a comedy. I think I laughed once in this. Like the whole point is he's a terrible comedian. Like,
there's some. Him and Jerry Lee Lewis in the house.
The cue card scene. Is
all right. Maybe
him and Jerry Lewis explaining how he wants him out of his house and him not getting the hit is hilarious. I had
experience in the comedy world, like maybe that's why it wasn't funny.
That's fair.
But like it really more seemed like an accurate portrayal, and it's like wow, things don't change with the generations, like a lot of things. But I don't know. I'm just not a comedy to me. So.
I understand where you're coming from, Aaron, but I will confirm IMDb has it listed.
That's fine.
It is two people can veto it. So if they feel like it doesn't fall,
I don't need to veto it. I'm just being an ass.
I'm not even gonna bullshit.
I'm going to let Cody have it because I'm also going to make a thing where it is eligible based on the genres on IMDb, even if we wouldn't fully consider it. Not that anyone's going to try and pick the thing I'm picking.
I am doing that under the same assumption that I'm not going to fuck with you, Cody. You don't fuck with me in terms of my comedy.
Good luck.
So now that that's locked in, Cody, we are in mutual agreement that we're going to fuck with Boat, right?
Oh, come on.
I'm joking.
I don't trust a man in flannel.
I'm not Koho. Koho's the one who would do it.
Koho said
I did not consider this. Again, with how I built my thing. I like this movie. Cody has set himself up very well because not only does he get the king of comedy, but he gets Joker eventually as time goes on.
Yeah, which is great.
All right,
and getting Joker means that you get Barbie, which, as one of my 8th graders told me today, is Joker but for women.
Oh, that's a problem.
Barbie has me really worried, but that's fair.
All right, Holtzman, you're on the clock. Pick number 3.
For the record, in the comments, Koho says he would veto. If he wanted to do that, he could show up on screen and say that to Cody's face. I am going to pick my romance/rom-com film next, because frankly, the order that I pick these in doesn't really matter. And one of these I'm still heavily debating on. So I knew from the jump that with me being me, at some point in my thing, not only did I want to pick things that fall into this categories, but I wanted to pick a musical. It's who I am, and I think that the art of the musical needs to stay around. And I picked another classic musical, actually, and I picked Meet Me in St. Louis. I saw this for the first time near the end of last year. I got to go see this in the theater, and I think this movie is just delightful. It's such a simple, easy story to tell about this relationship that spans a long time, about these family dynamics. The music is fantastic. The colors are absolutely beautiful. It has such a nice, simple setup for all of its scenes. It gives you also this great holiday movie that's around Christmas time. It gives you an iconic historical Christmas song, but just a all-around really well-delivered product. Judy Garland is amazing in it. I think it's very well directed. I think the trolley song is one of the greatest songs written for a musical ever. And then you also have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas in there. This is another movie that I think people just don't really talk about and don't really see or watch very often. And more people need to see it, and I want it to stick around for a very long time.
What category?
Romance/rom-com.
Yeah, this, you kind of sold me on this. You get, I think we do have to save the musical. I think that's an important faucet of movie history that we need to consider. So the fact that you brought that in is good. Like you said, you get a holiday movie with it. There's a lot of that aspect to it. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good pick. Again, going with your strategy and your thought process. Was anybody else thinking Meet Me in St. Louis for romance or wild card?
Unfortunately,
not. Of course, they weren't.
Listen, I'm from I've lived the majority of my life in Missouri, and one thing St. Louis holds its fucking self to is we had the World's Fair. Okay, we hold that fucker tight. Like no one else can say in 1904 we had the World's Fair, and that's something we ride or die with. And this movie encapsulates that. So my state would freaking hell yeah, let's do that. But over me, I think the movie's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. So either way, I think it's a good pick, especially musical. I think that's important to save.
I've actually never seen this one. Yeah.
Oh.
I've wanted to. I had an ex-girlfriend who was obsessed with this movie, and that's what kind of put me off ever watching.
I just
think
an Iowa Christmas would be this and the Music Man. So I figured that was they would just do together. But that's fair.
No, Music Man's in Iowa summer. Music Man's for middle of summer.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
All right. Boatman, that puts you on the clock for your third pick.
Yeah. I might as well make my comedy pick now. And I'm going to go with a movie that fits into a lot of different genres, but I definitely think it fits into comedy. And I think this is just one of the most crowd-pleasing movies ever made. I'm going with The Princess Bride. I think we save a movie that basically everyone and their mom likes. Just a movie that's just a super fun time, fits so many different avenues and interests and niches, has some of the best characters of all time, some of the greatest scenes, just a movie for basically any occasion. Peter Falk even sells it. It's got, sports, swords, true love, miracles, it's got everything. So yes, my pick is The Princess Bride.
No, real solid. This is another one where you get comedy, but you get a lot of other stuff too. Like you said, you get adventure, you get romance, you get all this stuff. And I think you need that. You have two. I mean, you have one big prestige movie. Then you have The Apartment, which is another one that's I think a little more maybe approachable for regular people, but still is considered like a more prestigious film. And this is just for everybody. This is for kids, this is for families. Everybody can sit down and watch this one. So yeah, I think this is a good addition. You need a movie like this in there somewhere. Princess Bride, again, this is one I know a lot of you guys enjoy. What are our thoughts on this being in the time capsule at this pick?
Hi, I'm Kaleb Boatman. Every morning I wake up, I put a piece of white bread in the toaster. When it pops out, I put some butter in it, and then I drink a glass of nothing but 2% milk. This is my film taste. It's a good movie.
You didn't include
but like
you didn't include cinnamon toast crunch, which is a healthy part of my breakfast. Not literally healthy, but
I just I don't know. Like both is like if you want to like put like a AFI or like top tier list like into a time capsule, he's doing the job that he's supposed to. I just think it's weird. I'm actually one on The Princess Bride. It used to be one of my all-time like favorite movies growing up. It has slowly dipped over the years, which I never thought would happen, but it's like going down more and more every time I watch it. It's not that it's bad, it's just it's losing something over time. But overall, I mean, there's not going to get a lot of arguments with Princess Bride and The Godfather and The Apartment. I'm going for second. Let's do that. It was great.
Yeah, I feel like I have always missed something with this movie that everybody else. I am the person who doesn't like care for it. I watched this a couple of weeks ago, even with my brother when I was back home, because he was like, I just need to watch something that is like very, very like kind of frivolous, but still feels good and whatnot. So I will give it credit for that. It's a very comforting movie for most people. I just like I've never really had an attachment to it. I've probably fallen asleep to this movie more often than like I've stayed up through the whole thing when I've seen it. So it's just like a very soothing, comforting movie though. And I really do understand why people like it. But my introduction to Carrie was Saw. So I will never be able to see him as anything else. That's a personal problem, probably. But yeah, I mean, this movie's fine. Like, I personally don't really like care for it, honestly. I'm not trying to be like the cool guy. I just like, yeah, fine. I think I've seen him just rip it off too many times before.
All right, well, that ends round number 3, and Spence asks how it's going. So since we don't have banners, I will give a rundown of the draft so far. Koho has taken When Harry Met Sally as his romance, Arsenic Lace as his comedy, American Werewolf in London as his horror. Aaron has picked The Fly for his horror, Roman Holiday for his romance, and Starship Troopers for his action. Cody has Exorcist horror, RoboCop action, and The King of Comedy for comedy. Cameron has American Animals for his wild card crime, To Be or Not to Be for his comedy, and Meet Me in St. Louis for his romance. Boatman has picked his wild card and crime also for The Godfather, The Apartment for romance, and The Princess Bride for comedy. And we are back to Boatman for his fourth pick.
I'm going back and forth, but I think at this point,
Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios for
yeah.
Maybe I'll try coffee grain, the brown. Maybe I'll add some brown to this white for once.
What are your two genres left, Bo?
Well, a horror and action adventure.
Empire Strikes Back or Halloween? Which one?
Yeah, just lock it down.
At this point, I feel like
picks.
I feel like at this point, both of my picks are safe. So I'm just going to go with my horror pick for now. And I'm going to go with Psycho.
I only have sex with children of procreation. Ooga booga.
Wait, what, Aaron?
I can mention my other sequel I was going to mention earlier. Psycho 2 is super underrated. That was the other sequel.
Fair.
Love Psycho
But anyway.
so much. Watch Psycho.
But yeah, if we're gonna do a horror, why not do like the granddaddy of all slashers and do Psycho? Like, I think this is a movie. I mean, this literally is the movie that like it's like this and Peeping Tom invented the slasher. Like, I don't get why that gets an eye.
So invented is the granddaddy of the best of the best, please. So Snow White's the best animated movie?
That's literally not what I'm saying.
You said granddaddy of them all.
Yes, as it is the ancestor. It's the movie.
That phrase is used to describe the best of the best.
Do you think that grandpa automatically means it's great?
The granddaddy of them all. The granddaddy of them all is explaining one of the best of the best.
No,
Boatman.
he's taking it
How do you
literally
feel
like a
about Psycho?
grandfather. Like a grandfather.
He took it as grandfather. He took it the one that had birth.
Let him
He
talk
thought that
about the
phrase
movie.
meant that. What a moron!
We were under 2 hours last week. I'd like to keep that train going.
This is incredible.
Aaron and I are trying.
Thoughts on Psycho?
Look, Psycho's a great. Oh wait, you're saying
you go ahead.
Psycho is a great. Yeah, and I think like especially if we're like rebuilding cinema, this is going to be like a whole generation of people who are going to be able to experience this twist like for the first time and like watch this movie and be like, okay, like we're following this lady, and then she gets axed 20 minutes or 30 minutes in, and like that complete shift of genres, or not genres, but shift of focus. Perkins is obviously like one of the creepiest performances ever. I think if we're including the horror, this is absolutely one of the ones you have to include.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great, like I said, if we're introducing like the foundational type movies, this is definitely one of them. And yeah, I like the idea, like you said, pointing out the fact that this is a whole new generation of people who don't know the twist because there's nobody who doesn't know the twist at this point. So to have a whole group of people who could, most of you have spoken up on Psycho. Let's start with Aaron and Cameron because they have not spoken about this yet.
All right, you want to go together, Cameron? All right, here we go. 1, 2. So Psycho 2. Please see Psycho 2, everybody. This movie is amazing. Anthony Perkins is better in Psycho 2 than Psycho. Seriously, it's a better performance than Psycho 2. And you can hold me to that. Watch it, and you can message me and tell me I'm crazy or I'm not. But Psycho is great. It really is. I cannot hate on it. It is my favorite Hitchcock. Even to this day, I get it. There's other correct answers. Psycho made me hugely fall in love with movies at a young age. Thank you, Gus Van Sant. I really do appreciate you for that movie. And then I went back and watched the original. The original was even better. So that's a true story. I saw the Gus version first, and then went back and I was like, oh, black and white movies can be okay too. But yeah, no, this is good. It would have been in my top 10, honestly, not in my top 5.
After Kaleb Boatman has his white bread turned into toast with his butter and his glass of milk, he goes to his job as an accountant where he has seasonal depression.
I love it.
I can't do that.
I love Psycho.
What are your thoughts on Psycho?
I love Psycho, but he's picking the list of like one of the AFI top 100 best movies ever made that don't need to be.
You picked When Harry Met Sally first.
Yeah, and that's not on the AFI top 100. Check it. Anyway,
Psycho, I picked the greatest of the genre. Boatman, how dare you pick the greatest of the genre?
Is it?
Psycho 2 Psycho 2 also has Robert Loggia and Meg Tilly.
Okay.
I'm
just saying. So this is my take. Bowman came in here and clearly was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick the best of the best. Not the ones that really, sure, was it the first? Okay, but I think there are better ones that have came along. I think there's better Hitchcocks out there. I think it's great because it did something first and that set the game, but that just gives goggles to everybody and like, it did it first. It's the best. I just think he's got better stuff. And I don't overall love the film, but again, Bowman's clearly picking for not his personal favorite, probably just what's the best of the best.
It literally is my personal favorite horror movie. It literally is. Let's look at my top 100 right now. It literally.
Well,
I'd
you
rather
change your
not
top
do that
100
because you
every
did that on
day,
the
so that's
show.
weird.
Also,
But okay.
No, you can look at the most recent version because they make a new version every year. You can look at
I
the
don't
one
want
that
to hear
everyone-
Boatman talk anymore, so Cameron, can you please pick?
also, Kevin Franz has
or
an
whatever the draft
amazing
sound
role
is.
as a landlord in the movie, and he's kind of skinny. Like it's cool.
So in episode
This might be
11 of
better.
Oz,
This might be better than
Boatman,
Oz.
what is your number 4 pick?
I'm trying. Yeah, I believe I'm the only person who hasn't picked horror yet. So there's no point in me picking that now, which is good because I'm still debating between 2 movies in that category. So I'm gonna pick my adventure movie. And I specify adventure, not action adventure, because this is in no way an action movie, but it is a fun adventure movie. And like I said, when I picked my romance movie, that I wanted to make sure I also had a musical. I also, one of my primary things was I wanted to make sure I had an animated film in my list. I think that animation as an art form is something that needs to be preserved. It needs to be carried forwards. And I wanted to pick something that falls into that camp of being underseen, of being underrated, but also being something really nice and simple and fun. So I'm picking Ernest and Celestine. This is a movie that I recently watched, and I think is just fantastic. It's this lovely, charming story about a world where mice and bears are basically complete polar opposites from each other, and this outcast mouse and this outcast bear who meet each other and become friends, sort of against the odds, and have this just really charming story and this really charming friendship. The dynamic between the two of them is fantastic. It's got a lot of really fun moments, a lot of heart, but they have this sort of really fun and silly adventure of them visiting each other's worlds and seeing what it's like, where like the mouse world, basically every mouse when they come of age is trained to be a dentist. And mice are tooth fairies who steal teeth from bears. And then he helps her steal a bunch of teeth in exchange for her helping him steal a bunch of food. And it's just this very charming and weird and fun mystery and adventure. The animation is very simple, but really, really visually stunning. Fantastic voice performances, a great score. And just a movie that I think so many more people need to see because no one ever talks about this movie, and it's a shame because this movie's fantastic.
All right. I admit I've never heard of this movie, so I can't judge it too much. It sounds interesting, and I was looking up the animation; looks pretty good. Has anybody else heard of this or seen this, or had it considered for any of their picks?
I've never even seen it. I've heard of it though, but I've never seen it.
I was saying it lost Best Animated Feature to Frozen, which is a shame.
I'm very sold on this. I'd love to see it.
I'm good.
All right.
It's also French, but there's an English dub.
So
Either is good.
Double sold.
I went to pick one American Animals there. I was like, I don't know. And then the next 3, I'm going up the ranks.
Cody, what is your next pick? Pick number 4.
I'm going wild card because I think the 2 ahead of me have romantic comedy already taken, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm guessing sci-fi will be where I put this. It doesn't matter; I can build anything. But I'm doing Children of Men. Children of Men. I'm putting that in there. I think overall, like of apocalyptic, like style and where it's shot and how quick the runtime really is, and how packed full this movie really is. It's a movie that I need to watch more because I have stayed away from it because it's one that gets such high praise, but overall it has still hit super hard when I watched it, and I think it's got so many great performances and the concept's so interesting. I just think it's a slam dunk for to save this kind of movie. Like, I don't love all the movies from Quran, but like I think this is his like best of the best.
Yeah, Boatman, you can give Cody a hard time about pandering on this one if you want.
I'm gonna take the high road. I'm gonna
That's textbook pandering.
And
Do you have this
Koho-
super high?
It's like in my top 20.
Oh, I don't remember what you had in your top 20, so I can switch it if you'd like.
No, you're fine. This movie, I'm teasing. This movie is fantastic. I just rewatched this last week. And yeah, just not just for the story and just the acting and performance, just from filmmaking. If we're going to be introducing movies and how to make movies and what is possible in making movies to a new generation, I think this is a movie that is kind of a must-have, just because of everything Karan does in it with the different. All the long takes and just the way this movie looks and the visual storytelling is just out of this world. So yeah, definitely. And I think as we talk about legendary directors, some of the all timers that we're putting in here, I think Karan is one of those people who is has been working a relatively a shorter time, but he's building up that kind of filmography where he belongs, or at least will at some point belong in that upper echelon, to be mentioned with a lot of those greats. So real solid pick. Did anybody else have this, want to slip this one in the time capsule?
No, but this is a great pick. This is one I'll admit it. I think Karan is my winner for director this year. It's not my winner for picture, but it's my winner for director. Not that the real director winner that year isn't incredibly deserving, but I just think this movie is just so masterfully crafted that I can't deny it. I
love that. I love how Boatman's hyping up Cody's pick, and Cody's like,
no, he takes the high road by also stabbing me in the jugular. He knows what he's doing.
Because
I was real take that I actually have.
Our should win, and then goes, but Martin Scorsese deserved it too. But Martin's he's just biking backwards.
I'm literally backpedaling. So how am I twisting in the knife?
He needs to end up like the characters at the end of the Departed.
You both talked at the same time, and no one can understand what you're saying.
Should I?
Koho, what are your thoughts on Children of Men?
It's great, but it's not one. Okay, so here's my thing with Children of Men. It's great. I think the movie is very well made. It's not one of my favorites, so I didn't really consider it. I can see how it fits in my theme. I think it's a good pick, but it's not one I would have made.
Yeah, no, I love this movie. It's honestly, if you covered up the list right now, I would probably guess that Cody's list was my list over my own. I'm not even joking. All four of those movies, I could argue, RoboCop and Children of Men were on my list. I wasn't picking Children of Men next necessarily, but my next two picks were going to be essentially next either way. So this might have been picked. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm still kind of going back and forth, but I think I'm going to go more personal for the last two anyway. So
all right, we'll go for it and let's see what you do. It's your.
I'm going to sink my ship here because I'm sure no one's seen this movie, but animated was also really important to me. I watch a lot of animated actually, and I particularly do like stop motion animation. And my favorite by far, it's not even close. It's a movie that I think maybe I've only watched once, maybe twice. It's very, very impactful. It's got a lot of funny parts to it as well. A lot of just human elements of connection. It's called Mary and Max. It's by director Adam Elliott. I think he's only done one movie. And I'm telling you, this movie, it's 86 minutes long, and it's about an 8-year-old girl from Melbourne and a 45-year-old severely obese man from Brooklyn. They start becoming pen pals. She sends a chocolate bar. He sends back one, and it's their relationship over 20 years. It teaches you the importance of connection, the importance of treating everybody with just dignity, and it's got really great fart humor throughout. And I'm not usually a big fan of fart humor. I'm really not. But in this movie, it really does it in a way that by the end you're craving another fart joke, which I know probably seems obnoxious to most people, but this movie is just really awesome. Even if you don't like stop motion, it's not going to hit you over the head with it. It's done in kind of a black and white style where the color does come in very occasionally. I mean, it's going to be hard to rewatch this movie for people, but it's such an important watch and what it would help people do moving forward. I mean, it was this or the H&M movie, which I'm not going to talk about again. So it's but it has that kind of impact on me, this movie. I love it so much. And I hope everybody checks it out because I'm sure no one's watched it, or maybe one or two. But if you haven't, it's really worth your time.
What category are you
Comedy.
is this? Okay, this is your
It's
comedy.
on IMDb as a comedy.
It is. You're good. I was just making sure. I just know if you're calling a wild card or not. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a well-made movie. The animation is very unique and interesting, but man alive, what a downer. This movie is, like you said, it is hard to watch. You're waiting for it to turn the corner, and it just never does. It just keeps beating you up. But no, I mean it's a very admirable film, and it's, like I said, it's well made. Like, technically, there's nothing wrong with it. It is just a rough set. I know Boatman and Holtzman, you both look like you had seen this before. Do you consider this for your list?
No, this is not one that really worked for me, to be honest. I like the concept of it, but just as a film, it just didn't come together for me. Yeah, it wasn't bad or anything. Just didn't quite work for me.
I watched this movie about 2 weeks ago. For the first time. I also didn't love it. I think there's some very good things about it, but overall didn't work for me. That being said, the ending of this movie is an absolute punch to the heart in terms of how it makes you feel. It's such a strong emotional climax to this movie. Yeah, it didn't totally work for me. I am a big fan of stop motion, but this definitely goes lower on my stop motion list. I didn't really consider it. But yeah, I respect the pick.
Boatman or Koho or
I don't.
Cody,
I don't love Mary and Max. I think it's not. It's not my thing. I didn't love it.
There's not a shot in hell. The one thing that I wish that besides anybody with the last name Anderson to put in the time capsule, so they don't fucking have to get that chance of recreating those people again, Wes or Paul. I would never put a stop motion ever. I hate stop motion with a passion. It's my least favorite animation style, and I know people love it and how much work goes into it. No thanks. So I hate it. I hate it.
All right, Koho, you're going to wrap up your draft chairs. Your last two picks.
Yes. So I finally have settled on what I'm going to do for action adventure, but I'm going to save it for last because I think literally everyone's taking their action except for Cam, and he's not going to touch anything that matters.
I know, but hey, it's value at the end. You put it at the 7th. Who cares,
But I'm going to take my wild card in the category mystery thriller. And if we're going to rebuild the mystery thriller genre, it's one that I saved for a very long time watching because I was very worried that it would never live up to the hype. And now I really love it. And I think that is it is a perfect script. And if we're going to build mystery thrillers off of it, this is the archetype. It's Chinatown. I think Chinatown is the mystery thriller that I would build that genre on and build it back. I think the film's phenomenal. It gets you Jack Nicholson in the time capsule so people can remember how great he is. It gets you what I think is a film that I was so scared to watch because I thought it was going to be it wasn't going to live up to it. And watching it, I was like, God damn, it's great. Perfect film, perfect for mystery thrillers. If we're going to build it, then people will come to see Chinatown.
We're going to build it on the back of Roman Polanski. I love it.
Yeah,
you need Bowman shit for his stuff, and you take Polanski. That's great.
He made one of the best movies ever made. I can't argue.
Polanski will be long dead before anybody watches. They won't even remember who he was or what he did. Yeah. This is a good.
You're saying they should forget Koho?
I didn't say shit. Kirk did. Get out of my face.
They are. This is not only a really solid movie, but it's also this is like a film school movie where this is shown to people to show them how to make movies. So again, if we're showing a generation how to make movies, this is a really good pick to have in there. Just to kind of where Quran and Children of Men have the flourishes, this one is a lot of the basics, just like your meat and potatoes of how a movie gets made and how to put a script together, how to film it, all that. So I think it's a really good movie, really good pick. And like you said, you need Nicholson. So everybody else on Chinatown.
I don't love it. I remember watching it. I thought it was okay, but not groundbreaking or moves the needle to a huge degree. I don't know if it's that kind of movie. Koho apparently just loved it. But again, how much can you love when you're behind a 6.7-inch iPhone while you're watching it? But either way, I mean, to each his own.
I watched this movie back in September. I think it's fine. I don't find myself particularly grabbed by the central mystery of it all. I think there's some very solid performances and some really great moments. I don't personally feel that it all comes together as like a particularly interesting, cohesive whole to myself. Koho can roll his eyes all that he wants because looking at the back of his skull would be more interesting than looking at this movie.
I like Chinatown. I think this is actually a very good pick. I think it's a really solid neo-noir movie. I think it's interesting to go with a neo-noir when you're building these up and not like, because this is basically a movie that's built on the backs of like the noirs, like your Bogarts and your different movies like that. But I'm not using that as like a dig because I do think this movie's great.
Yeah, I love this movie. One of my favorite endings of all time. But the Capsule choice. I was gonna pick it.
All right, Koho, then give us your last pick. Round out your draft here.
My last pick for action comes squarely on the choice that I don't have Pacino represented, and I also don't have De Niro represented, so I'll be picking Heat. I think that having those two actors represented in what I think is a very well-made action crime film, I think this movie, I think fundamentally shows you how to build a set piece. That isn't like. It's not even that kind of set piece where it's like, oh, look at these crazy things we're doing. There's no flaming guitars through the desert or some weird shit. It's just like there's a person, he wants to get another guy, there's all these people involved, and these are the stakes, and how to make that the most tense situation with characters and using the action to extenuate that story. I think Heat's brilliant. I just finished rewatching it right before I got on call. So I'm embarrassed about the story until the first time I was like, oh, why can I vlog it now? It's like, no. Cody's right. That's an idiotic take for me. But no, the diner scene alone is the reason to include Heat. Pacino and De Niro need to be represented. I think having them in one shot and then covering my action bases, Heat, closing it out.
All right, strong number 5 from Koho. Yeah, like you said, those two actors alone, getting them in there. And Heat's another one where you have action, but you also have drama. You have the crime element. You have a lot of cool things going on here. So I think this is a good movie to have that when you only have 5 movies, you touch a lot of bases with this one. Was anybody else thinking about Heat?
Yeah.
No, but it's a great movie.
I just find it interesting how the pandering clip never plays for Koho.
Because he controls it. Like, yeah, if I'm going to get crap, he should get crap.
Well, I don't know. Kirk is not as high up on Heat as people would think. Like, it's not top 50 on yours, is it? You don't have Heat that high. No. So pandering doesn't really work. My thing is, I think it's hilarious. It's growth. Koho is growing as a film purist. He watched movies normal, but always stared at his film. Then he watched them on 2 times speed. Now he's apparently cut that out. He logged this movie one time before the last 30 minutes of Heat. He logged the movie, rated it, and said, "What, does it get better in the last 30 minutes?" Mind-blowing statement. And then it's a fantastic movie. I think it's brilliant. I'm very nervous about the sequel. To be honest with you, I just think it's so hard to catch lightning in a bottle. Like, and if you cut it once, like twice is just going to the well, and especially with how like you don't have those two. But we'll see. But overall, I think I'm glad that he gave it a rewatch and watched the whole thing this time before reading it. So.
Yeah, this
also,
was
if he wanted to preserve Pacino and De Niro, he could have picked The Godfather Part 2, but he's a coward.
Sure.
I can't pick The Godfather Part 2 because then people are going to go, "Where's The Godfather Part 1?" I don't pick sequels, Holtzman.
What about you saying earlier that The Godfather Part 2 is a better and more functional movie? Is that erased from history now?
Aaron, you said you were thinking about this one.
Yeah, I was thinking. That's it. I was thinking about Heat. It's yeah, it's definitely up there for sure. It's one of the best. But I like 3 other Michael Mann movies more, so
Okay.
I'm not going with that one.
Are any of those your number 5 pick?
None of those are my number 5. I feel like I sunk my chances with my downer of a comedy anyway, so I'm just going to further sink it with one of the most beautiful Technicolor or any color movies of all time. This is my wild card. It's a dance movie. It's a drama. It's from my favorite set of directors, honestly, The Archers. I brought Matter of Life and Death to this show at one point. It's now time to introduce The Red Shoes. This movie, I believe, is Scorsese's most beautiful favorite movie ever. Actually, no, The River was, but this is his second most. He said the second most beautiful behind The River is The Red Shoes. And it is just, it's got so many different elements to it. It's got an element of kind of embezzlement there. With show business angle to it. It's got the romance, it's got the dance. It's essentially another movie that Black Swan hugely ripped off to create Black Swan. And the ending sequence, Chinatown's up there for me. This is even better. And yeah, it just, you can watch it muted if you don't want to hear anybody talk and still enjoy the movie. And then it's just one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite first time watches. I haven't gotten a chance to rewatch it, but I'm sure I'll love it when I see it again. The Archers are just amazing filmmakers, and I want to bring them into whatever century we make this into. I think it's a timeless movie also. The Red Shoes.
All right. This is another one that I actually have not seen. Anybody else in the panel, have you seen this, and where you consider it for your draft?
I had a different Powell and Pressburger film somewhere on my draft board. I have wanted to see this for a long time. I'm planning on watching it later this year because I'm following along with the View 52 challenge that was set by Jack, Alex, and Melissa. And one of the pieces on it is a film by Powell and Pressburger. And I know this is a film I would love because I used to do dance and I love dance movies and musicals and things in that vein. So I'm very excited to see this. From the things I've seen, it's a beautiful looking movie. Sight unseen, I think this is a fantastic pick, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, I like this one. It's a little dance heavy for me. There's so much time spent on the ballerina. I'm saying they spend so much time on the ballet aspect of it that it's beautiful. It looks great. I don't care about the ballet, so it doesn't really work for me all that well because there's so much of this movie devoted to it. If I'm going to go Powell and Pressburger, I would go a Matter of Life and Death or something else like that. But this is still an incredibly well directed movie.
Yeah, and the dance sequence, I'm not a big dance person at all, but honestly, I couldn't have gotten enough of it, and I can't believe this movie was made in 1948, I believe. The dance sequence and the shifting of the scenes with no cuts or what appears to be no cuts in the scene. I don't understand how they do that today, let alone back then. They're just really the most amazing filmmakers to me the more and more I watch their movies. So I agree, A Matter of Life and Death easily could have gone up there. 2, I just wanted to talk about another one. So yeah.
I've only seen one, and I promised out of respect to Aaron I wasn't going to draft it for this episode, but it could have easily been. So I will definitely be checking this one out because I really like the way they directed the one I watched. So I will give them at least a shot at another one because
I'll say it now. Earlier when I drafted my comedy, I said there's a movie I was thinking about taking, but it would seem like I'm just trying to steal something from everyone else. I'm not going to name that movie, but I think we can guess what that movie is from where this conversation has been going.
Yes.
Yeah, Life and Times of Colonel Blimp.
I have not seen this movie.
All right. Cody, you said you had a lot of romance movies to pick from. That's your last pick. Let's hear it.
I mean, if we're just going full on pander and just best of all time, I'm just going to do it because honestly, I can back it up because I agree with it. But movie, Morocco, 1941, we'll go Casablanca. We'll do Casablanca in there. I think it's a brilliant film. I think easily one of the biggest misses for my top 100 because I watched it and it was a lot like Roman Holiday, where I'm like, oh, this gets it because of that. I just recently rewatched it again. Absolutely brilliant. I honestly hate because the one time I had to watch it, I had to watch it for some trivia thing or some debate, and I had to like try to find problems in it, and that was one of the hardest movies to find problems in, which also made me miss it from scenes because I think the Battle of the Anthems should have made my list back. I think it's got all the cliche. Bogart is one of my favorite classic actors. Like, I think going back in time to just see him would be like a shell shock to people because like he's the when you ever see those impressions like of people like do like it's definitely Bogart that they're doing. I just think it's a brilliant film, and if it's to fill romance, I could have done one that I do love as well, but I think this is the one that probably needs to be saved from cinema and just to help everybody out because I know
That's textbook pandering.
It's wild how that clip only plays for other people.
Well, I played it for myself because I know, but I agree with my pick. It's not because of Kirk. I would do this if I wanted to. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a great pick. Coming into romance slot, it's funny because like the romance isn't my favorite part of this movie. Obviously it's central to it. It's important. It's good. But there's a lot of things I like about it more that just draw my interest in the things that really make me love this movie. Yes.
My comedy is not my favorite part of King of Comedy either. So,
yeah, no. I'm not saying this is negative. I'm just saying that it's fine because it's in for whatever reason it qualifies.
It's weird that it has like a romance. I know there is romance, but again, it's not like the tie to this movie that gets me into it, but it's there, so I'm like, okay,
absolutely.
I guess I can
It's considered one. I think it's the AFI put on their top, romance movie. So it's not a bad pick for the category at all. I'm just saying, like, it's funny because that's and that's the lines and everything. That's so much is what it's known for, but there's so much more to it. I mean, that's why I should feel there's so much more to it beyond that than the romance. And just I think this is, I've said before, one of just like the most completely built and realistic worlds I've ever seen in a movie. And I watch this movie when I'm in Rick's Cafe. It feels like a real lived-in place. Casablanca feels like a real lived-in place. All these, all this stuff is actually happening as you watch it. And yeah, this is a movie I love more every time I watch it. It goes up my list every time I watch it. So yeah, great. Round 5 pick. Great value coming in round 5. So anybody else that
yeah, brilliant movie. This, if for whatever reason I ended up not getting The Apartment, this would have been my pick because I think this is a brilliant movie. Brilliant. I do think the romance is great because I think Rick and Ilsa is like just such an interesting dynamic, and the way that they don't end up together is great. But that's the thing is I do kind of agree with you, Kirk, in the sense of while the romance is incredible, it maybe wouldn't make like the top 5 greatest things about this movie because that's just how awesome this movie is. Like, I love all the little side stories going on. And come on, Claude Rains. Claude Rains is just the man, and he's so good in this. I am shocked to hear that there is gambling going on in this society. No winning star. Oh, yes, thank you. Come on.
I rewatched this movie back in February on a plane. I think it's good. It's still not a movie that I personally think I will ever love, but I think it is a very good movie. Objectively, I can see why everyone loves it, why people praise it as one of the greatest. Not personally for me, and again, with the way I was choosing to build my list, this was not a thing I considered.
Yeah, this is another great choice from what I wish was my list. I'll be honest. Like, if I could trade lists right now, I don't know if I would, but I would at least be going back to the war room and being like, let's really think about this one, guys. Like, seriously, if he wants to do it straight up, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Great choice. Claude Rains, you said he was the man. I just want to correct that. He's the invisible man. That's it.
Casablanca rules. Good pick.
All right, Kim, we're down to your last pick.
Yeah, it's my horror pick. It's all I've got left. And I spent a lot of time debating between two movies, both of which I knew no one else was going to pick. Actually, one of them probably could have been on Aaron's list. Um, I think either pick I make, I will probably earn points with Aaron. These both feel like Aaron movies. I have no idea how they feel in terms of being Kirk movies. But I've decided to go with one because I've realized I don't really have any movie that is anything of a spectacle, anything super high concept or high visuals in any way. So for my final pick, for my horror pick, I'm picking Alex Garland's Annihilation.
Hey.
Um, I think this is a movie that was so good, is one of the most visually stunning movies I have seen in a really long time. Has a phenomenal story, phenomenal performances, so many great and legitimately terrifying moments, and just nobody talks about it anymore. And it only came out 5 years ago. You have this really interesting story that sets up these really interesting visuals of this new world on our, like this new refraction of our world called the Shimmer that changes the way everything functions and the way people are. And it leads to not only these really visually beautiful things where the nature is transforming and the world around them is transforming, but you see people start to transform. And so there's a scene where flowers start to sort of bloom and grow out of the one character's arm. And you have the very end of the movie where it's this very up to your own interpretation of what it sort of means, but this very visually interesting scene to look at. But then you also have moments of legitimate sheer terror and horror at points where probably the most famous scene in this movie is the scene that I commonly refer to as just the scare bear. There is this horrifying mutated bear creature that is trying to kill the group, but its growls and its cries don't sound like that of a real bear. It sounds like people crying out in pain and for help. And it's so unbelievably disturbing. But at that same time, you have it being anchored by these incredible performances. Like Gina Rodriguez is incredible in this movie, and nobody talks about her. But her in that scene is absolutely fantastic. You have the scene where they find the footage of Oscar Isaac and how he went crazy. And there's a scene where you see him cutting open a dude's stomach, and then his insides have basically turned into a snake slithering around in him. And I hate horror. I hate gore. And I spent my entire time, I never covered or closed my eyes, but I just sat there looking at the screen being like, no, 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 I'm out. But then I kept watching. It's so interesting narratively, phenomenal performances, a great story, beautiful, beautiful visuals that no movie has come close to replicating since. And I think that it is truly a piece of cinematic art that people are already forgetting for no reason.
Yeah, I think this for your list. I think this is a great pick. I think this is a very unique horror movie. I just love the existential dread of it. You know, it kind of reminds me of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where like this is just something that's we can't fix, and this is just going to happen, and the characters are kind of dealing with that. Like there's an attempt to stop it, but they kind of know they can't. So just that inevitability of this horrible thing, and the visuals are so great, and I love the fact that they use very beautiful things in a very horrifying way, like the changes that are happening in nature. There are horrible things like the bear. The bear is one of the scariest things probably the past 10 years. But the just the way they use the flowers and the flora and everything to show the transformation, the way the world is changing, the way nature is changing, the way people are changing or continue to be changed out of control. It's just such this horrifying thing, despite how beautiful it is. So yeah, I think this is a really great movie. I still don't understand the ending. I'll admit that. Like the ending is just so out there. But
I think it's up to you to figure out what the ending means.
Yeah, absolutely. but I'm not going to hold it. It's a very weird ending, but I kind of like that. That's fun. So no, I think this is a really good pick. Again, it's out of left field, but representing modern horror, you could do a whole lot worse than this. So,
I will say my final pick is I was between this, and I think I might earn points with Aaron again. I was between this or Raw.
Nice. Very good choices. More French.
But I decided to go with this because I have a lot more toned down, more human stories. I didn't have a spectacle in any way.
I think this is a better pick. I really like this pick a lot. Were you done, Kirk?
No, good. You're good.
Yeah, I love this pick for a lot of reasons. The movie itself is great. I think it's by far Alex Garland's best. Or maybe not. I mean, Ex Machina is close, but I prefer this just a little more. I feel like it's more ambitious.
I thought about Ex Machina, but I didn't think it wasn't horror enough for me to put it here.
Yeah, I mean, they're both like, but I mean, I just like the world that you go into in The Shimmer. And the other reason I love that and kind of agree this has been forgotten is this is like one of the first movies that Netflix pushed in other countries to go only digitally. And this is in 2018 when that wasn't done. And I remember I had to like seek out like a local theater to go see this movie because it like wasn't in, I think, the Regal by me. So I had to go to like my landmark theater to see it. And it was an empty theater when I saw it. I remember seeing these visuals. I was like, these can't be done justice anywhere else. So like, I mean, it's been forgotten on many levels. I agree. All four of the leads, Tessa Thompson, Gina Rodriguez, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and then Oscar Isaac you get with a great supporting role, Benedict Wong. Everybody is great who shows up. This is a really, really solid pick. And of those two, I think this is the better pick to kind of keep moving forward. And it is like way slept on. I feel like a lot of people are like, the confusing movie, and they kind of just cancel it out unjustly. I feel like there's a lot more to it than the ending, even if you don't want to do the work or try to figure out the ending. That's totally understandable. I feel like the journey up to it and kind of the different grief and this is a great choice.
I haven't seen it.
I like this one. This is one I haven't seen since it came out, but I remember really liking it when it did. But then I've kind of forgotten about it, which I guess goes to both Aaron and Holzman's points.
I was told that I would not like this. So.
You would not.
You would hate this movie, Cody.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Cody, were you here when I talked about the fact that there's a bear that cries as though it's a human woman in pain?
It's like trapped as like 1,000 grief people, I think it is.
Oh, that sounds awful.
I'm pretty sure it's like if you slow down and listen to the audio, it's literally like people crying, help me. It's super messed up.
It's great.
Wow, that sounds like I will absolutely never watch it.
No.
It's so good.
All right, Boatman, close out your final pick.
What genre? So we can maybe we can pick it for you.
No, I know what I'm doing. I'm going action adventure. No, I'm not going Raiders. That is my second pick, though, but I'm not going Raiders. I'm going to reiterate what I said when I picked The Godfather. Kirk likes a lot of brilliant all-timer movies. I'm not going white bread for this one because there's Asians in this movie. It's Seven Samurai. Seven Samurai is my pick.
Okay.
That's textbook pandering. That's textbook pandering.
Shut up.
That's textbook pandering.
I'm not fine. You don't know.
No, let him talk. Let him talk. Go ahead.
No,
Good.
do
No.
that. I'm not giving you that.
Hands up. Hands on screen.
Cody,
hands on screen.
It was. I did the first one, and Cody did the other two. To be clear.
Fine. Oh, the host of what?
You want to talk about a crumb bum, scum bum, punk?
I want to hear your thoughts, Boatman. Cody, leave him go.
No, I'm not giving the host of YLS any more content for his show.
Your parents should have spanked your ass. That's what they should have done. You spoiled little baby. You spoiled little baby Iowa bitch.
I am not
obligated. I hope you get hit with corn.
Great pick. It's a great action movie, great adventure movie.
I will talk for a little bit. I think that this
Koho, you want to veto this?
Yeah, I'll veto it.
I'm not allowed. No, I'm overriding.
You don't get a choice.
I'm overriding.
That's the rules.
If it's the show, you can't just veto it for no reason.
I believe I veto it in the power of Boatman's ability.
We might get another 2 hours, guys. Here, another 2 hours,
fine.
two
Go
hours
ahead.
in a row.
I think this is a masterfully epic film. I remember when we did the sight and sound thing. Like, what would you put in the sight and sound? This was on my thing. I just legitimately believe this is one of the greatest movies ever made. I think Toshiro Mifune is brilliant in this. I think this is one of the like grand epics, and I think we needed a grand epic. We needed a Kurosawa. I think this deserves to be. It is one of the greatest movies of all time, and it should be on this list. And I did. My list was very white bread, so it was like I was gonna do Raiders, and I was like, you know what? Let's put in some Kurosawa.
This is still.
Yeah.
Hey, how is it still white bread? It's directed by not a white guy.
Well, that doesn't. That's not what we mean by white bread. Oh my god!
I have one black friend. What is the problem?
Great movie, great pick, great. I mean, there's action and there's adventure in this. There's so much to this.
Yeah.
Super influential. Definitely belongs to the list. Kurosawa's in the time capsule. Great pick. Anybody else quickly and respectfully have anything to say about this movie?
It was on my list, and I was like, do I go Starship Troopers or do I go Seven Samurai? And I said, I'll go Starship Troopers.
When Kaleb Boatman returns from his job at the accounting firm with his seasonal depression, he has some lovely, moderately fulfilling missionary only intercourse. But it's like a little interesting. But no, I have yet to see this movie. I downloaded this movie onto my laptop for the plane ride, in which I ended up watching Casablanca instead, because I saw that they had Casablanca on the plane screen. And I didn't want to be that guy who on an airplane is like, let me pull out my laptop and put it on the thing and watch a samurai movie for 4 hours when I'm in the middle seat. And so I watched Casablanca and The Black Phone instead.
What a double feature.
Apples to apples.
Boatman is the guy that like shows up, like talks to his like spouse at night and goes, you know what, I'm gonna feel a little wild tonight. I think I'm gonna get crab rangoon with our order tonight. Like, come on, get crazy. Like everything else is normal. Like,
that's such a specific,
you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling so
insult too.
That's really like specifically targeted at me too.
So it is my biggest blind spot. It's my movie that I tell myself every year I'm going to watch, and it still sits there as the watch.
All right, everybody talk about it then.
I have nothing respectful to say to one Kaleb.
You haven't seen it, you little bitch boy.
Okay. Koho, do we have a final graphic? Do we have any graphics?
Of course we do, because I do my job.
You're awesome. Okay. I'm going to start from the last and work up.
All right.
I'll say everybody had a great list. I don't have any serious complaints about these. I think you all made pretty good picks about, from your own point of view and your own philosophy how to build the time capsule. I think you all did a pretty good job. So nobody gets real low marks. Nobody's list actually sucks this week. That being said, I think I would have put Aaron in last place. Like I said, he had some good picks, some things everybody else probably wouldn't have thought of. But I think just with, especially Marion Max and Starship Troopers, I think are the two that kind of brought him down, aren't as essential, especially Marion Max being his comedy, kind of hurts. Fourth place is, again, it's close from here. Koho is fourth place. Again, because he has, again, I look at this.
Wow.
You're going to get out of the movies. I think American Werewolf in London is probably his weakest. Has really strong movies. But
I beat him
because I went to three. Here's what.
Thanks, Cody. I agree.
Here's why.
Because I pitched myself well and eloquently instead of yelling at Kaleb Boatman all night.
He can't.
No, you just did the Cam asshole thing where you're an asshole to everyone, but make it sound polite because you're Canadian. That's what you did.
I was an asshole to you because you were an asshole to everyone else. I was pretty nice to others.
Cam did a good job of selling his way of the way he wanted to build the time capsule. And here's the thing about Cam. He almost won because of this. He had a musical. He had an animated. He had a foreign film. He had a lot of different variety on his list. He had more variety in that sense than everybody else did. So I think he did a really good job. Again, it just comes down to the mileage people are going to have his movies. I don't think he's going to get it as much as Cody and Boatman's list did. So that's why Cam's 3. But it was still a really solid list. Between Cody and Boatman, listen. If you ask me what 2 + 2 is, 4 is not a sexy answer. But it's the right one.
Oh my god!
So Boatman is in first place here. It's tough.
Boo this!
I knew I should have hosted.
Here's the thing. You guys talk about how basic his movies are, but you also got to consider how influential all these movies are, and all the different movies and all the off the wall stuff springs out of his movies. So Cody, very close. It's
misogyny is real good in the Godfather.
I just appreciate Aaron going Starship Troopers.
but I think
2 is better.
Casablanca, where they don't beat women in the 40s, but in the 50s, they'll just come back to this room where it's not my house. We're going to still have sex.
Very sexist in Casablanca, bro.
There's Nazis in Casablanca.
I support you, Frank.
If we're going to judge it on every character in the movie individually,
literally an AI-generated time capsule.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
You just chose a fucking chat box to complete a capsule.
I'm sorry.
I love you, man.
Hey,
Holy fuck.
movies
I learned nothing about movies.
Literally the only.
Hold on.
Can we mute his shrill microphone for 5 seconds so he can get out of here?
Hold on. So, listen. Take back the show. I'm glad he's just yelling and thinks he's unmuted, but he's muted. It's hilarious. That's like the best part of this.
He's just making a bit out of it. So yeah,
like he's muted. He has no clue. That's great. Okay. Anyways,
I knew I was muted, but I needed to get that into my system.
Okay. Take back the show. The real winner tonight. I'm going to give it to Cam. So I can over see how that all works. Cool. Next week. I still need people. I only have
drafted correctly.
Pointless. Koho, next time he plays a match in Melee, let's make it like 7 people at all points.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question is next week, 2000 to 2009 movie per year. It's ranking list. I need people. I think Aaron said he wanted to be on. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. He's on UFC. So I don't know if he wants to do every week. But I have Scott Harvey and I have Rue. I need 2 other people. It's a normal, traditional week. So if you're interested in the topic, please submit. The following week is UFC. And I have Brooklyn, Patrick, Dylan, Aaron, and I'm looking for 1 more person. So if not, I will hop in and draft and make it open panel. And then me and Kirk and Koho will talk about May and talk about topics to get it going. So if you want to be on next week, please let me know. If not, I'll probably message people on Monday and Tuesday and be like, hey, you want to be on? That'd be cool. So Kirk, thanks for hosting. Everybody, thanks for being on. We'll see you next week.
Going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Drunk and angry. Come on, break the lousy cup. Ow! I hurt my arm.
And not expect everybody to do everything.
I'm going there soon,
Is that so? Where are you going?
Uruguay.
Well, you go Uruguay and I'll go mine.